Yep, it's Yae Miko. Yae Miko is probably the most underrated 5-star in Genshin Impact. How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to another video, and today we're going to be talking about one of my personal favorite 5-stars, one of my first ever 5-stars, and who I think is one of the most underrated 5-stars in the game. I know that term underrated and overrated gets passed around a lot in the Genshin community, and you know, something like this has probably already been done with another 5-star. You can say that a 5-star like Ayato is slightly underrated, or you could say like Child is underrated, but one that I feel like is slightly underrated because of the competition that she has is Yae Miko. And of course, we all know who the 4-star competition is, which will make a special guest appearance at the end of the video. So for some previous context, Yae Miko was actually one of my first 5-stars ever in Genshin Impact. I believe for event characters, she was my first. Let me see. Yeah, so 5/28, 2023. I want to say she's my first. Yae Miko was on 6/1, so yeah. Yae Miko was one of the first characters I ever got on Genshin Impact. And honestly, really, the biggest reason why I got her is because she looks really cool. I mean, she's a fox lady. Her design is red and white, which are some of my favorite colors. You know, she has a cool little fox thing that happens, and she throws out little turrets. One of the things that I've always been a sucker for when it comes to games like this is having like pets to use, or like, you know, like a little drone or whatever you can throw out that like does the work for you. And that's one of the biggest reasons why I like her kit, because of these little things that are really easy to get out. You swap off of her or you stay on her and you do some pretty big damage on their own. Another thing about Yae Miko that I really enjoyed is that she's a catalyst user. Like I said, I just really enjoy magic book summoning stuff, and then her burst. I mean, one of the best looking bursts in the whole entire game. But my personal reasons aside, one of the reasons why I think she is very underrated is because of how easy it is to actually build Yae Miko. My Yae is at C0. I do have a level 90 and my talents are 8, 8, and 8. You don't need to level up the normal attack. It's just something I did because sometimes I do play an on-field Yae, but it's definitely not mandatory whatsoever. But this is what I was talking about. Two-piece attack, in my opinion, is one of the best ways to build her if you really don't feel like artifact grinding all that much, because 9 times out of 10, most people have a full, you know, decent gladiators or Shimenawas, because it's one of the most popular pieces in the game, and it's part of the emblem set, which is, you know, again, another super popular artifact set in Genshin Impact. But two-piece attack is very easy to build on her. It works in almost every situation. If you're running her in like an aggravate team, if you're running her with an overcharge team, if you're running her in the more popular overload team, which is one of my personal favorite, and it's actually how I've gotten the most damage out of her with Chevreuse. Two-piece attack can pretty much carry you through any of that without having to worry too much about your substats. You know, you throw crit rate or crit damage on her for the circlet. You of course have to go for electro damage bonus on the goblet, and then sands, you always want to get attack. You do see some people do use elemental mastery. Another way to build Yae is to go full EM on her if you're gonna do like a hyper bloom setup on her. Honestly, the way I like to run her is not really focus too much on Hyper Bloom, but if she triggers the Hyper Bloom, okay, because she does have 200 EM. It's not coming from the weapon or anything like that. I just got really lucky on artifacts. But if you can throw some EM on her, it'll be really beneficial, because one of her talents, I believe it was this one. Yes, every point of EM that Miko possesses, it will increase her turret damage by 0.15%. And I don't think it has a cap on it, so it just infinitely scales off of that. But overall, I think attack and crit is like the higher damage output than EM. So like I said, having some EM on her isn't a bad thing. But yeah, some other artifact sets that you can run on her, like if we pull up this, Gilded Dreams is probably the easiest one you could go for if you don't have two-piece attack. The 80 EM automatically is great, and whether you're getting the 14% increased attack or the EM portion of Gilded Dreams, either one is going to be great no matter what situation you're in. And Gilded is also another goated domain to farm, very resin efficient for a lot of the characters in the game, and for the Dendro characters you're most likely going to run her with. Next up, Golden Troop has been a very big one for her. I think it's honestly like, if you have Farina and you have some of the more New Fontaine characters, you probably should go for Golden Troop, just because it's so much better on her for her turrets. I'm really not someone who uses her burst a lot, so I probably should go for Golden Troop, because I kind of focus mainly on her normal attacking when I need her to be on field, and then her turret damage. So if you're never going to normal attack on her, if you're never going to burst on her, pause. If you're never going to use her burst, definitely go for Golden Troop. It's definitely a worthwhile domain. I mean, Golden Troop works on so many different characters in Genshin, and then the opposite artifact that's in the Golden Troop domain, that being Marche Hunter, is another just slap it on a random DPS character, and it works pretty well on them. If we see it on here, combination 3, this is Gladiators, which is a 2-piece attack, and then Thundering Fury, which is 15% electro damage. That is also another viable option. I've tested a lot of different artifacts on Yae, and one of the things that I've noticed with Yae is that you can kind of just throw whatever on her, no matter what artifacts that you use, and she performs really well. I've tested Golden Troop on her. It did really well. I've tested 2-piece attack, 2-piece electro damage. Did really well. I've tested Gilded on her, and it does really well. Another artifact set that a lot of people don't really talk about for her is running a full emblem set, so that way you can have your burst. This is really only useful if you're going for like a burst Yae Miko, which, don't get me wrong, her burst has some really high damage in it. But in the teams that I use her on, I don't really use her burst too often. Now, talking about weapons, I do have her signature, so, you know, that's why my crit stats are very inflated. 73 over 192 is an amazing crit value that most people would want. But to go over some weapons, if you have Lost Prayer of Sacred Winds, and like I said, you're going to be using her on a little bit more of an on-field flexible position, you can definitely throw this on her. I think Skyward Atlas is another really good one. I can't remember if that's the Catalyst version or not, but the Skyward series book for her is also very good. More for people who are light spenders or free-to-play / light spenders, Widsith is probably her best overall weapon if you don't have a 5-star. Widsith is just really good. I mean, she benefits from all these buffs. She benefits from the attack bonus, she benefits from the elemental damage bonus by 96% on R5, and she benefits from the elemental damage. I mean, 480 EM is absolutely crazy, and then of course really good crit damage value as well. If you don't have Widsith, or you don't have her signature, you don't have Lost Prayer, you don't have anything you could throw on her, at the end of the day, you can get Hakusho Ring. I think that's what it's called. It's the free craftable Inazuma weapon. I'm not really too sure if there's any other. I mean, Eye of Perception can be okay. Sack Frag is kind of wasted because you don't really use the elemental, like, you really don't really need the elemental skill reset. If you're running her for energy, you can throw Favonius, but there's so many better options for generating energy for your team. I can't really find like any other weapon that would genuinely be decent. I mean, you could throw Thrilling Tales on her, but she doesn't really benefit from the HP. So yeah, if you have Widsith, even at R1, please use Widsith. It's amazing. If you have Lost Prayer of Sacred Winds, definitely use that. And of course, if you have her signature, use her signature. But yeah, moving on to some of the teams that you can use for Yae. Like I said before, I use her in a lot of my teams, and the reason why is just because she has decent damage no matter kind of where you put her at. It's just good sub DPS no matter what. One of my favorite teams of all time that I've been using in almost every single Spiral Abyss rotation that I do is Nuvolette, Yae Miko. Let's see, then we get like, I'll throw Kazuha in there, and then for the final piece, I'll use someone like Diona. The final piece is kind of just whoever. If you want to get like a little bit of like an aggravate team going, you could use Nahida, wherever she's at. You could use Nahida. Again, I have a lot of 5-stars, so I'm kind of in a position where I can kind of just use whoever and it works. But for the team that I typically use more often than not is I throw Farina in here and I throw Jean. This is literally a core of some of my favorite characters in all of Genshin Impact. Now, they all are 5-stars. They're all 5-stars. So it's a little bit of an expensive team. More often than not, a lot of people have Farina. The Archons are pretty much kind of sort of a guarantee for people's accounts. If you're brand new, then of course you probably won't have Farina. You probably won't have Nuvolette. You might have Jean. There's so many different teams you can use for Yae. You can make her the hyper carry with an aggravate team. If you have Chevreuse, I mean, one of the team like Yoimiya, Yae Miko, we put Chevreuse in here, and then we can even do like Zhangling, we can do Bennett, we can do Toma if you need a shielding option. This is a very viable overload team. If you have Bennett, please use Bennett. This team is absolutely phenomenal. You could do double Electro. If you have, we're gonna skip this person because this person doesn't exist till the end of the video. Shoot, you can throw her on there if you want. I'm kidding, of course. Please use Bennett if you have Bennett. But this overload team is very good. It's some of the highest damage I've gotten on Yae personally. I know Aggravate probably has a higher floor scaling. I'm just probably playing it wrong, but I just really enjoy Chevreuse. It opens up overload, and it's one of the elements I've been really wanting for a long time. But But yeah, there's really nothing more I can really say about Yae. Sorry. I just feel like she's a very easy character to build. Like I said, 2-piece attack, 2-piece attack, 2-piece attack, 2-piece electro damage bonus, or 2-piece EM. Like, honestly, when you're building her, you just kind of want to go for whichever artifact set is going to give you the best subsets at the end of the day. Everything is probably, if I would have to guess, like 5% of damage within each other. And it's just a character that I've really enjoyed. Now, getting into the biggest thing against Yae. There's two of them. We have Raiden Shogun with her E skill alone. Applies infinite, and it literally is infinite electro damage or electro procs. And then the elephant in the room, Fischl. Now, I am coming from a position where I did not have Fischl, and I do have Fischl at, I believe, C5. Let me see. Yeah, my Fischl is C5 with signature weapon, golden troop set, decent attack, okay crit rate, crit damage. Fischl is the biggest competition to Yae, because a lot of veterans of the game looked at Yae and were like, what's the point of releasing this character when we already have Fischl? Fischl has infinite uptime as long as you're giving her enough energy. She synergizes with every single electro character in the game, and she fits wherever you need an electro sub DPS or just electro damage in general. Fischl fits perfectly, literally perfectly, because she's also super easy to build. My reasoning for saying that I prefer Yae over Fischl is just strictly because it took me so long to get Fischl. You've heard it before, most likely, but 4 stars are genuinely harder, in my opinion, to get than 5 stars, especially if you're like in a position of light spending or, you know, light saving. Am I saying that you should get Yae over Fischl? Honestly, probably not, because Fischl is, again, like a super easy free-to-play character that you can get by just farming up star glitter. I forgot where the star glitter shop is. Here it is. You know, she does have a rotation where she comes in with the star glitter, and to find that, they can go on like the wiki. It's like a monthly rotation. So there's a guaranteed way to get Fischl. It's just I did not have that luxury or experience with having her early on. I didn't get Fischl till much later, and her cons until much later. So that's honestly why I say Yae Miko is kind of underrated, because if you don't have Fischl, if you don't have Raiden, if you don't have Beidou, if you don't have Kuki Shinobu, like Yae kind of fits into all those slots that everyone would use. I know she's not the best Hyper Bloom character, but she can be. Like, you can just throw a bunch of EM on any electro character, and since Yae has literally infinite electro application, you can make her a Hyper Bloom bot, like I make my Raiden Shogun. Don't tell anybody I said that. Last time I told people I made my Raiden a Hyper Bloom bot, people lost their minds, because like, you're supposed to run Raiden on Hyper Carry. Anyways, if you have Fischl, you don't really need to pull for Yae. I've told my friends that recently who had Fischl already, and when Yae's banner came around, I was like, you really don't need Yae, because Fischl is pretty much Yae, just as a 4-star. But I still do prefer Yae Miko. In some teams, Fischl's better. And like a quick swappy team, I feel like Fischl and Yae are kind of even. There's aspects to both, of course. Fischl generates more energy, so that's one thing that's really good about her. But in terms of like raw damage, I just really prefer Yae. I like her more as a character, and at the end of the day, with how long I've been playing the game, which is a year now, I really only go for 5 stars if I genuinely enjoy their kit and I genuinely enjoy how they look. I don't really like playing Fischl too often, because I mean, her colors are really cool, but she can get kind of annoying, and I just really like Fox Lady, because I mean, right here, right now, Emerge, it gets you every time you see those turrets hit people, and then you do the burst, her eyes glow red, and it's really cool. So that's pretty much why I think she's an underrated 5-star. She's not broken, she's not OP, and that's why I think she's underrated, because a lot of people tend to skip out on replacement 5 stars. Yelan is kind of sort of an example where, oh, it's not Yelan's banner anymore, whoops. Yelan is kind of an example of that, where if you have Xingqiu and you have him at C6, you really don't need Yelan, but getting Yelan is just a massive improvement, in my opinion. Like, Yelan just exploration, her burst is super satisfying, her E skill super satisfying, she's stupid easy to build. Like, she's a strong 5-star, and that's one of the things I like about Yae. She's a strong 5-star. Can she be replaced if you're free to play? Yes, 100%. But if you like Yae and you want Yae, you should get her. I felt like I said Yae a lot. Can you tell I like Yae Miko, and can you tell that all the slander and hate against her needs to be stomped? Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it's whoever you enjoy. If you enjoy using Fischl more and you already have Fischl, just keep using her. But hopefully, you know, this was hopefully this was educational for anybody or entertaining for anybody who is looking toward getting Yae Miko in the future. And let me know your thoughts in the comment down below. Please don't hurt me. I don't hate Fischl. I really like Yae. I like both of them. They're really good. And I know I'm not a meta person, like I'm not too into the meta. I mean, I have Arlecchino C2, so that's kind of meta, but like, of course, at the end of the day, use your primos however you want to use them. Don't feel encouraged to buy a character. Don't feel encouraged to splurge for a character. Really only get characters that you think are strong and look cool. That's about it. I'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye.